Folks, Jade with KnifeJoy, and I'm just in from the road. I got that one out clean this time. Took me 3 times. And I want to talk to you about one of the brands that we're fortunate to carry, Strider knives. Got a couple of knives out here, a couple different sizes. But first, let's talk a little bit about the company. So if you're not familiar with them, they started back in the early 90s, 93-ish, down in Oceanside, California, and then they moved around a little bit, and there they moved their manufacturing warehouse to a couple different spots as they've grown. They started making fixed blades and fixed blades only, and the big joke back in the shop back then was, yeah, we're not making a folder. We're only going to make fixed blades, because they were making hardcore, usable fixed blades for law enforcement, military, stuff like that. Right around 2001, they started making the SNG, and it's gone through a couple of variations, some improvements, and up to the super nice higher end ones that we have today. The SMF, their Strider military folder or special mission folder, a little bit larger size, is the one that goes to a bunch of different military contracts, and we have a couple of those as well. I'm going to talk about the SNG and the SMF Strider folding knives today.
So Strider, it's named after an individual, right?
Mick Strider, yeah, his last name is Strider.
Strider, so that's where Strider.
Yeah, so Mick and Dwayne started it in the early 90s, and then Mick runs Strider Knives and Mick Strider Customs as well.
Okay, and you said they were doing law enforcement and military. That's not. I mean, they were officially doing like an approved knife that the military can buy.
So an NSN or a national stock number. They've got several of those that are just made for the military, and then they were making several law enforcement knives. That's how I found them. Back in '95, I had one on my SWAT rig, and it was one of their big, large fixed blade Tontos, cord wrap handle. But again, they weren't even looking at making folders back then. They were like, yeah, we're not going to mess with that. We're just going to make these fixed blades.
So so there's some of their kind of cool. Some of their story was making this stuff for purpose use.
Special purpose use. In fact, several of their brands or some of their models, the DB rather, was specifically designed by a law enforcement officer for a specific purpose. And then some of the military knives, same thing. Guys would come in and say, hey, we want this or we want that. And then both of those guys had military backgrounds as well. So they had a little bit of knowledge and experience to draw from, and then being so close to the Marine base and the Navy base down there, they get feedback and input all the time, and that kind of helped shape some of their designs and some of the features they would put on them.
Gotcha. Are they making their knives mostly in the United States, or is it?
They make them all in the United States. All the products, all the components are made in the U.S. Their shop is in greater San Diego area in the US. So yeah, it's all US made. Even the pouches like that pouch there, made in the USA. And then some of the nylon products that they have available, also manufactured throughout the United States. And then these are all made in their shop down in, like I said, the greater San Diego area. And we're going to talk about one of the SNGs first. So they've got quite a bit of history with doing a Tonto grind on a knife. And then this is their partisan cam, so limited production, partisan camo. They do that with a laser to get the different colors and the different depth and texture on there. Hand ground, hollow ground Tonto. And then with the durable frame lock there. And this one actually has, you can switch the clip out. So you can go left-handed or right. This one's set up for right-handed, but you can swap the clip out on the other side and go left-handed if you're goofy-footed. Kind of an oversized giant pivot. They're kind of known for that as well. So you're not going to have any failure points on that. One of the unique points on their folding knives is that choil right there in front of the frame, right behind the edge of the blade there. Should there be a catastrophic failure of your frame lock and the knife were to fold on you, your finger is going to catch on that choil. So you'll see some folding knives that have the blade, the sharpened edge coming in closer. This one is specifically designed to not have that, should that folder fail on you and close. So that's the SNG and the Tonto. Then we have the same frame with the hand ground Bowie blade. So it's got a hollow hand grind there, and then a deep aggressive top swedge there to make that Bowie grind, but with the same features. Titanium, both sides, limited partisan camo addition on that, and then also a left-handed clip option there if you want that. And then now going up to their bigger knife, their SMF, which is one of the ones like we talked about that they do for a lot of military contracts. So slightly bigger on the size, a little bit bigger handle, a little bit bigger blade. This one's black finish, more tactical finish, machined aluminum handle there with the flag logo. And then one of the things they're also known for is their hand heat striping. So people call it strider stripe or tiger stripe, but they were one of the first ones to do that kind of finish on the titanium. So they do that by hand with a torch, and they torch it out. Subdued black finish on the blade, flat spear point with a top swedge on that.
That knife looks similar to, they had a collaboration with a ProTech, right? It looks similar to that.
So the ProTech would have been the smaller side, even smaller than the SNG. A little bit smaller on that, but the same shape, same handle shape, kind of an iconic handle shape, and blade shape as well, in the automatic side opener. And then ProTech made that one. They did that for 10 years, and then at the 10th anniversary, they stopped it. Who knows if they'll bring it back again? Fingers crossed on that.
And that was an auto, wasn't it?
That was an automatic, a side opener automatic.
Does Strider do automatics natively?
No, they do not.
Because of that collab.
It was just because of that. Yeah, they don't do an automatic. They do just the manual openers.
Okay.
But then this is a similar SMF to the one I just showed you, different blade steel. So they work in a lot of different blade steels, right? So they'll do MagnaCut, PD1, S30, 3V, just depending on what steel is available and if there's a special use for it. So sometimes the military contractor wants a specific blade steel. But for the civilian market, they do a lot of different blade steels as well. But this one has a similar handle setup. And then this one with their Bowie grind, hand ground, hollow ground, Bowie swedge in the SMF frame. Also with the tiger striping titanium finish on that. So we talked about the choil behind the blade edge there. Let's talk about the shape of the handle. So two things you want to be concerned about with a knife like this is pushing and pulling. Pushing, you've got something that's going to stop your finger there and there. Pulling, because of that flare out, that angle, you're less likely to slide off the back end of the handle. So it's a little bit grippier. You've got a positive grip engagement working in either direction with that knife. So whether you're looking for an SMF, the larger size folder, or you're wearing skinny jeans like me and you need a smaller SNG, you want a hand ground blade, you want a machine ground blade, you want the Bowie shape, you want spear point, Tonto, all the options are covered on that. And then we also have some limited edition Strider logo made in USA pouches as well. So I want to make sure you guys could understand some of the physics and the geometry of the blades and the handles on those Striders. And I think I covered it on that. We're super fortunate to be able to have a good selection for you on the website.
And that's a big deal, right? Like Strider is one of those, like I've been to blade shows and they're like, people line up and they run to their booth and get stuff.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
in stock at KnifeJoy, that's kind of a
Having them in stock is kind of rare. So, for example, at the last Atlanta show, there was the first 10 people in line that spent the night for 2 nights at Blade Show to get in the door. Those first 10 people went straight to the Strider table. And so we're fortunate to have a good relationship with them and work with them on a regular basis and get a few. We don't get a lot, but we get a few in stock and we get them up on the website as soon as we can for you guys to take a look at. So folks, there's a little bit of a range of options. You've got the SNG size, the SMF size, you've got hand ground blade, machine ground blade, Tonto, spear point, or Bowie. And we've got a few of those options for you available on the website now. Thanks.